Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mylan Karna. I am the Problem Gambling Program Manager with the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. And it's my pleasure to introduce today's guests on behalf of Ohio for Responsible Gambling, which includes Ohio MOS, the Ohio Lottery Commission, and the Ohio Casino Control Commission. Alessandro Ciaffoncini is the president of Origo Branding, a Columbus-based company that is a leader in branding, marketing, advertising, digital services, and has served nearly 100 organizations across numerous sectors, including 38 community agencies. Origo Branding was recently recognized along with Ohio for Responsible Gambling in July by the National Council of Problem Gambling for their work on the African-American print ad that won most popular print public awareness message in the past year as a part of the Before You Bet campaign. Over the course of the past summer and early fall, Origo and Ohio for Responsible Gambling teamed up this time to work on the sub-campaign Pause Before You Play. It is my pleasure to introduce Alessandro Ciaffoncini for today's presentation on Pause Before You Play campaign. Alessandro, Beth?
Great. I'm going to share my screen. I don't mean to take over, but here we are.
All you now. Go ahead.
There we are. All right. I think I remember how this works. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. What an exciting opportunity and a great way to kick off a Monday, where our brains are refreshed and relaxed for the weekend, and we're ready to get back to the work that we're so passionate about doing. As Mylan mentioned, my name is Alessandro Ciaffoncini. I'm the president here at Origo Branding Company. We're a creative and strategic agency that's been around for over 37 years. And with us, you've probably seen a lot of our work. We work a lot, as we like to say, for the greater good in public health campaigns. Anything from the main opioid abuse awareness campaign, Take Charge Ohio, working in child abuse and neglect prevention with the Ohio Children's Trust Fund, Be a Hero in the Eyes of a Child, as well as work in, say, elderly abuse, recycling, food waste, you name it. But today we are here to talk about a very important initiative that's been very dear to our heart for going into our 8th year of partnership, actually, with Ohio for Responsible Gambling. And, while I'm here joined with Beth, who is our media buyer and media planner, many of you probably know Beth. If you've ever partnered with us on our campaign, you'll know that this is a campaign not only to get out the Get Set Before You Bet campaign to the community, to individuals who might be at risk of problem gambling, or as well as influencers who might be concerned about someone who might be at risk, but it's also for all of you, the ones making a difference in the community and really running your own grassroots and local campaigns within your regions and counties, developing tools that you can co-brand within your own media efforts. And Beth might have helped with providing assets for you, reformatting, or even providing consultation, which we are always here to do as part of our contract with the state of Ohio to provide those free services. I want to say thank you to our partners at Ohio for Responsible Gambling. As Mylan mentioned, that's Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, Ohio Lottery, and the Ohio Casino Control Commission. They are our lighthouse, our guiding light, our North Star to our initiatives on, say, keeping a pulse on where the nation, where our state is headed in terms of, say, gambling, and where we are concerned about, where we can be proactive in promoting responsible gambling to the different populations I spoke about before, but also providing, say, great connections to, say, different organizations who can also help champion our message. I also want to say thank you to PG&O. They've been a fantastic partner to us as we have developed our messaging and tactics for our campaign, and even running fantastic webinar series such as this. We focused on a lot of topics over the last 8 years, but we've really been gearing up for this big tidal wave that I feel like we're getting set for in Ohio, with sports betting expanding to new forms. And of course, as we know, with new forms provides the potential risk for more people to be at risk for problem gambling. So it's fantastic, this series that they've run. I would echo some of the sentiments earlier to go renew or sign up for your membership. This supports the advocacy for preventing problem gambling and promoting responsible gambling in our state, and helps us keep going strong in these initiatives. So today, as you can see the graphic on screen, it's very fast paced, it's very sports driven, because we're really trying to connect and get in the minds of the sports enthusiasts, the people that are already involved in sports betting, or who have the potential to be engaged once these new forms come into play. This is a responsible gambling campaign to prepare Ohioans for sports betting. And as mentioned, we have a long history in this field. A lot of you may know our Get Set Before You Bet campaign, which I really like the name of this series. Ready, Get Set, Go is the name, for these different webinars that you've been a part of. But Get Set Before You Bet is exactly that. Taking a pause, taking a breath, and really understanding if you know the risk, if you're setting limits, if you know when to quit, and really knowing what it means to be a responsible gambler or say partake in these activities. We have a whole website that maybe some of you have engaged with. If you have not, there's all kinds of toolkits for different ethnicities, demographics, even topics such as online gaming, virtual gaming, sports betting that we did a while ago that is now being revamped with what we'll show you today to really address some of the concerns that we've had across the state. And really, this campaign was developed to serve and be utilized by all Ohioans, especially the behavioral health community, such as yourself, providing you tools and resources and messaging that you can utilize. So say when you have a budget or say an initiative to get out or reach out to a specific population that you find at risk within your county or area of Ohio, you don't have to spend all these dollars on say creative fees and messaging. We can work in a unified force in terms of what messaging we want to get out, and you can utilize some of those dollars in terms of getting the message out. This campaign actually, Mylan gave us some accolades earlier. This is not why we do this. It did put Ohio on a national stage. It won Best Public Awareness Campaign for 2 years. And when launching the Change the Game Ohio campaign, which is our other website, changethegameohio.org, which is a campaign to focus on youth gambling and influencers such as adults, educators, and anyone who has children in their lives that they might be concerned about on how to have those discussions, how to identify warning signs, and even how to educate the youth and teens in their lives on how to be responsible. So as we've gone forward, say with our campaign, there's been new surveys, there's been new research, and from this, new at-risk populations have been identified through research. So a little bit of background throughout the years, we've been working to provide, not only our own media tactics to serve, some of those populations that we see rising at risk within the communities around Ohio, but provide you the tools as well to be able to do so. So we've created African-American toolkits, Hispanic and Latinx toolkits, online gaming, sports betting, which we're going to talk about how that's evolved today. Focusing on college student, as we know, 18 to 24 is the most high risk, at risk population for problem gambling. Veterans and military population has been rising in discussion for what kind of experiences they have and how they differ from others, making them more vulnerable to these challenges. Then seniors and older adults, and then also our helpline toolkit, which the ZEP Center, as I mentioned earlier, was fundamental in, as we create a PSA series of people in recovery talking about their experiences and how the helpline can help you get on the right path to treatment and recovery. All these sub-campaigns are available to you. And just to show you a little bit about where they are on the site, some of you that might be new, here's the homepage before you bet. Community toolkit. Normally, you're going to have to request a password, which you get an automatic reply, but that's for us to know who is participating in the campaign. You'll have everything from grand guide, logos and fonts, icons and photography. Then here are your different toolkits. If I were to just go in the helpline campaign toolkit, you'll have everything from, I might have too many tabs open, informational handouts, print ads, helpline posters, digital ads that you could run on your site, radio PSAs, testimonial PSAs. And right away at Origo, we have writers, designers, animators, web specialists, media specialists, all in-house. So it takes one contact to Beth at origobranding.com. Beth, if you want to put your email in the chat, actually, she can help you format these for whatever, needs you might have and co-brand with your organization's logo, making sure that it has a localized feel when pushing out to your community. Now, last year, we were focusing on things such as the African American Toolkit and campaign. You probably saw some of these ads in and some of our media efforts. We also focus on getting more awareness around the helpline. We continue to do so. You probably will see, I would say, some I would say stars within the field, thought leaders in the field. Steve Capella is in one of, say, the from Zeph Center is in one of the testimonial ads, but you'll probably be seeing more of these. But as we're in football season, basketball, hockey season, all of these new sports are, say, coming to fruition. And January 1st coming up, we have new concerns. So what are the challenges ahead? As legislation moves forward towards legalizing sports betting in more forms in our state, we obviously have a concern that access to sports betting casinos, online platforms, and other outlets could result in greater increase in at-risk problem gambling for Ohioans. So to address this concern, Ohio for Responsible Gambling and Origo created this new campaign to promote ways that Ohioans can prepare to gamble responsibly, engaging in these new activities on January 1st of 2023 and beyond. So we started discussions, and part of this process as well is you're going to see a little bit about how we work with Ohio for Responsible Gambling or our other partners. How is the campaign developed? How do we do preliminary research? How do we test messaging, make sure that we're being culturally competent, as well as we are going to be connecting with our audience correctly? Now, remember before it was said, at the end of this, there will be a Q&A, but we also want your suggestions, your insights. This is the tip of the iceberg for this campaign as we plan on continuing to expand this all throughout 2023 as sports betting continues to build its momentum. We feel that this is going to be the highlight. But focusing on experts in the field, we want to develop two conceptual approaches for our new campaign that would highlight different risks and behaviors that occur specifically in sports betting. Because what we found was it differs from, say, other forms of betting or, say, individuals that might enjoy other gambling activities, helping to promote tips for how Ohioans can bet responsibly when engaging in sports betting. So some key messages that we found that we wanted to push forward in these concepts. We wanted to focus on the core messaging of Before You Bet campaign. We didn't want to get away from letting people know, hey, it's sports betting, but the message is still setting limits, knowing risks, and providing general tips for dealing with the overwhelming market of sports betting that will be critical in these campaigns. I'm sure that you all notice who have watched TV, the immense amount of advertising from MGM Bet, FanDuel, DraftKings, whoever it might be. Many players are entering the market. So it's important to equip people for how to deal with this. And inform individuals how they can gain control of online sports betting by utilizing limit-setting capabilities on their devices, and destigmatizing problems with gambling and further the message that individuals are not alone will also be critical. That was something from our helpline campaign initiative as well. Different motivators, we understood that when those that engage in sports betting are distinct in that they have a great belief that they possess skills or specific knowledge to win. So therefore, they don't believe that it's betting or that it's not an activity of chance. Those who bet on sports tend to have more competitive spirits, putting them at risk. This is especially true for younger audiences. But also, we want to educate the audiences that will be important to provide them with foundational knowledge of the difference between legal and illegal markets and the consumer protections they can take advantage of. Educate them on fundamental terminology and phrases. You can't really assess an issue or say educate an individual unless you're utilizing the right verbiage and terms that can connect on that level. And continue to inform them on the Problem Gambling Helpline, VEP, and other channels for support if needed. So we went into concept development. The first one, as you know, but we want to show you some other ones that we're coming up with and then what our research came back with. It was pause before you play. And kind of the manifesto for this campaign was, these days betting happens fast. Online bets are just a touch away. In the second it takes to kick the ball, thousands of bets are being placed. But too much lightning fast betting can also put you at risk for a problem with gambling. That's why it's important to slow down, assess your risk, and take a breath. When it comes time to place a bet, press pause before you play. So with this, we provide a script. And as we mentioned, the creative direction of this channels the same energy as the visuals and tone of, say, the African-American PSA, which you might have seen at one point. To refresh your memory, here it is.
Do you enjoy sports betting, lottery, or online gaming? If so, it's important to know that gambling is a form of entertainment, not a form of income. Being an adult takes a lot of brain power, big or small. You're making decisions constantly. Life can be complicated, but responsible gambling doesn't have to be. Gauge your risk for problem gambling and take the quiz at beforeyouBet.org. And if you know someone who needs help, call 1-800-559-9966. This has been a message from Ohio for responsible gambling.
So that was kind of the energy we are going for. As you see, it's very graphic, a lot of motion, kind of pulls you into the spot, and really kind of is reminiscent of the hype that we wanted to capture, and utilizes, say, animation and on-screen messaging. So using a similar educational approach, as you can see, the script just provides you the topics, the messaging, and the facts, and the tips of what we want you to do. So it's very direct, but at the same time has a very creative pull to it. So a voiceover will urge sports bettors to slow down, take a moment to assess their risks before placing a bet, just like hitting the pause button on Netflix or DVR. To start, the visuals and audio will flash quick cuts and rapid fire clips of sports moments. The array of images and footage are interwoven with upbeat music, on-screen text, and graphics. The voiceover opens the spot and continues with images continuing to build, emphasizing the thrill of it all. Suddenly, at the height of intensity, a set of pause bars pop on screen, stopping a sports scene in mid-frame right before a big play, making it motionless. Video and audio cease as if someone was pressed pause over a live TV feed. And it says the now stop visuals blur as a message and calls to action come to the forefront. So, which would be pause before you play. The voiceover continues with the last line, a play icon flashes, and the video and audio of the game in progress starts again in the background, eventually cutting to final screen with the web URL and helpline information. As the script goes, betting happens as fast as sports, and now every play is faster than ever before. We live for this, the split second when it's on the line, then pause. Sports are fast, betting shouldn't be. So remember to set your limits, know when to stop, and pause before you play. To learn more, visit beforeyoubet.org/sports betting. In concept B, this was a more sentimental, emotional approach, reminding us why we love sports in the first place. It's called For the Love of the Game. A true sports fan cares about more than winning. Just winning. Being a fan is a symbol of pride, identity, and being part of something bigger. One way to have fun as a fan is to place a bet on your favorite sports events. But just like your home team, it shouldn't be all about your winnings. When you know the risks involved and understand that betting is just one small part of being a fan, you can get back to cheering on the game you love. So this would take a montage approach to the campaign. Think about old screen back graphics, older footage of sports games from all different sorts. This concept will utilize imagery and scenes that tap into the magic of sports. As a more emotional spot, we will show a series of vintage-style sports clips, aligned to footage and scenes of sports fans over the years getting together to cheer on their favorite teams. The spot continues with montages of camaraderie, friends getting together, families gathering in their sports gear, and fans on the same team. The final screen comes on with a call to action, including messaging for the web URL and helpline information. And as the script goes, you've always loved sports, but what made it so special in the first place? It wasn't fantasy lineups and beating the spread. It was excitement of game day, hanging on to every magical moment, having pride in your team, win or lose. Sports betting is coming to Ohio. So if you choose to gamble, know your risks, set limits, and remember the real reasons you fell in love with the game. And then the call to action. So with these two concepts, we knew that we needed to test and also have deeper discussion. We went into research and we gathered 18 participants who identified as individuals who participated in sports betting on a regular basis. We conducted qualitative interviews with a variety of individuals. We made sure we had different ethnicities, ages, genders, and made sure that they engaged in sports betting in some form in recent years. Our goals were to understand which PSA concept had the strongest potential to connect with our target audiences, because that would be the nucleus or core of everything that streamed down for all the other materials and tactics we developed. Learn the motivations and behaviors of sports bettors and how these experiences and attitudes differed from other forms of gambling, and then identify the best approaches and messaging for our future tactics to be created for TV, digital advertising, and other educational strategies. So our methodology, we actually did an online screener survey, as well as reached out through other ways. So we pushed it out through social media, e-blasts, and other forums. We actually recruited over 350 individuals. Going through, we saw which one would give us a diversity of individuals, as mentioned, of age, demographic, ethnicity, demographic, levels of betting. As you can see over here, we had groups that engaged in sports betting daily, engaged in sports betting weekly. We even asked an expert on this subject who focuses on sports betting, Douglas Spain, Ohio National Guard Counter-Drug Task Force and U.S. Army veteran, and Mike Bazzelli, who focuses on the college student population and their challenges with sports betting as well. As you can see, we have a mix of male, Caucasian, African-American, as well as a span from 20s to age through 30s, because really that is our main demographic that we're focusing on for this campaign. As you can imagine, it's hard to create a campaign for something that would resonate to someone 25 that's also 55. But we know that it's younger individuals that this campaign, but we want to expand that in the future. These exercises help to lead to a final research report with a recommendation for the master campaign concept. And Megan mentioned very young ages to be sports betting daily, and I would agree. From my experiences, Megan, even say individuals in their 20s with fantasy sports, it seems that, football fantasy sports, that's just Sundays, right? Well, now there's basketball, hockey, baseball fantasy sports, and those are setting your lineups daily where you are glued to your device. There's about over 150 games in some of those leagues. It is wild. So, and some people even have bookies outside of the state. But I was surprised as well that we were able to build such a population that are doing it daily. But anyway, we want to find out a little bit of insights around these individuals before testing the concepts. So this will be sent to you so you can kind of use these as you develop your messaging and different tactics as well in the future. But pretty much key motivators, almost all individuals stated that earning additional income and the ability to double their money was the primary reason for sports betting. A majority of participants cited that the desire to prove they were right or able to predict the future were the most exciting aspects. Remember, people didn't think it was a game of chance. They felt that they had knowledge on sports. So it wasn't as much gambling, and they really wanted to prove their expertise in their sport of choice. Participants mentioned that placing bets on games makes watching them more exhilarating to watch, and that being able to place smaller bets in real time was a way to make watching the sport more interesting and helps them relate more to the live sport. So through some of these devices, you can change bets and bet on different things throughout the game. It's not just how it maybe used to be to put money down on a single team. You sit down, watch the game. It's happening during the game constantly with the different bets that you can be able to create. And the anticipation and the thrill of winning was stated by individuals as a key reason they engaged in sports betting. For behavioral considerations, most of the individuals say they first engaged in sports betting between 18 to 24. But if they were to really think about it, I would imagine that it might have been sooner, probably making March Madness brackets at their school with their parents, even setting fantasy lineups with their dad is a common bonding thing that I see on a weekly basis in some groups. Participants shared that because of their passion for a sport and watching a lot of games, they feel like they have an advantage when placing bets. It was shared that it's difficult for people to get out of sports betting because they can easily place bets and can do so quickly. They do not typically think about the risks involved. It was also mentioned by participants that they tend to bet on sports more on the weekends because they have more leisure time and there are more events. And all the individuals shared that they played some type of sport as a kid or do so currently recreationally as adults. And they mentioned that those who engage in sports betting are dynamic and love having a variety of different sports to choose from when placing bets. So rarely you're just a race car driving person, a baseball person. Usually you like various forms of sports. And ease of access and socialization. Online and apps was cited as the most popular form of sports betting, as well as having the flexibility and accessibility to place bets directly online or through apps from their home will increase the frequency in which individuals are able to place bets. Also, participants stated they engage in fantasy sports, every single one. Some had bookkeepers as well. Majority of individuals referred by a friend is how they first engaged with sports betting. So they were in a league, they invited them in or introduced them to their bookie. It was mentioned that sports betting is seen as a form of socialization because their friends are engaged in sports betting. It's a frequent topic of conversations. It's considered a shared hobby. It brings them closer, as one said. It was also shared that sports betting is seen as a form of competition amongst friends to see who will win. So We also tested the effectiveness. People very much like pause before you play. It was stated that the message of betting shouldn't be fast resonated very well. They shared that pause before you play is an important reminder to slow down before placing a bet. It was also shared that it's important that language did not include gambling. Bettors do not consider themselves as gamblers. They believe as they are placing educated sports bets, so it's not a risky or chance outcome. They also thought it was visually engaging. It captures the energy of placing a bet. The visuals of the pause bars is a nice reminder to conduct a risk assessment before placing the bet, and that continuing with the play button at the end evokes a non-judgmental sense that is not an anti-gambling message, which might deter viewers. They also mentioned showing the actual sports. We had a more graphic approach, especially in the height of action, was stated as being very impactful. Areas to improve, they mentioned to show a variety of sports. I think we had a lot of basketball in these approaches, but people bet on football, soccer, golf, race car driving. And while the African American PSA worked well, the visuals should focus more on competitive and athletic nature of sports betting, making it feel less like a video game. Also, understanding the risks, understanding the language to mention the risks involved was mentioned as being updating the language to mention the risks involved was mentioned as being something that would be helpful for individuals who might be engaging in gambling for the first time. Participants say that chasing your losses is the biggest risk for those who engage in sports betting, especially since sports books will advertise that your next bet is free as long as you double down. Also, they said that the campaign message should highlight the financial losses that can occur. This was also received well. Individuals mentioned the emotional appeal was a compelling approach that felt more approachable. Imagery of fans getting together to cheer on their favorite team was applicable to their experiences. Showing images of happy people cheering on their teams would speak to the heart of our target audience of why they love the game. Individuals shared that knowing your risks and setting limits were very important messages and good reminders. They shared that they really liked the message of you've always loved sports, but what made it so special in the first place? This resonated well. And the reminder of why individuals love sports in the first place is valuable. But individuals stated that there is a small element of shame in the language. It wasn't fantasy lineups and beating the spread, and that would cause the viewer to tune out this entity that is telling me my own thoughts. Participants shared that we should not say gamble, as mentioned before, instead betting. It was shared that this concept did not encourage the audience to assess their risk as directly. So, when voting, and they could also put not applicable, but 78 out of the percent voted for pause before you play. And I see a message in the chat about is the goal of the campaign to focus on the 18 to 24 for the pause element, or was that just to make up for the focus group? The focus group extended to mid and even later 30s. It is a stronger focus of 18 to 24, but we are looking for it to extend to the young adult audiences. So even bleeding into, say, later in 20s, early 30s as well. Mainly because we're trying to do a lot, especially in this first part of the campaign. But 18 to 24 will be the main focus. So with a master concept, pause before you play. And what that means, Danny, is that we still feel that this is applicable for, say, people in their 20s and 30s as well. We tried to make what was the main focus. That's something that can resonate even to years, say, thereafter. So hopefully that was clear. So with the recommendations and considerations when executing concept A, pause before you play, Origo will utilize the feedback and recommendations from the interviews in developing the campaign, such as removing the term gambling as much as possible. Sometimes it is effective. Make sure we use a mix of popular sports and make sure that the language address the risks of betting. We also ensure the graphics and imagery portrayed an athletic and competitive tone. And from there, you get what our final campaign PSA was. So you will see this running through cable TV throughout Ohio. digital advertising, social media, and we're on a video conferencing, so there might be some lag, but we'll do our best here.
As fast as sports. And now every play is faster than ever before. You're on the edge of your seat until the moment when it's all on the line, which is why it's important to pause before you play. Sports are fast. Betting shouldn't be. So remember to set limits, know the risks, and pause before you play. To learn more, visit pausebeforeyouplay.org.
So, with that as our PSA, you notice that said pausebeforeyouplay.org. Thank you, Kelly. And Kelly says that's great. And if you go to pausebeforeyouplay.org, it actually redirects you to the beforeyoubet.org sports betting page. And we thought that there should be something, while toolkits are usually private, giving messaging to the public that can be directed and say individuals could use. The PSA is here, free resources, take the quiz, problem gambling helpline, but even different flyers that we created. So this is actually just in the main nav, sports betting of the site. If I even go to the home page, you see that's promoted here. Education resources, watch TV spot, or through the main nav that you can capture the public facing campaign. But we also create materials for you. This is actually all in the toolkit, and even the PSA and all these materials are being able to be co-branded by you. So as you can see, we're trying to use a mix of sports, baseball, soccer, football, and keep it simple. Pause before you play. Sports are fast, betting shouldn't be. One of the messages that resonated most during the research. The best game plan for every bet, which we love. Obviously, it's using the language of sports, but when people think the best game plan is, they're a better way to bet. Well, the better way to bet is to do so responsibly. Set limits, recognize risks, know when to stop. It says online betting takes just seconds, but betting too quickly could put you at risk. Learn why you should pause before you bet at pausebeforeyouplay.org. And then we have, of course, URL and so forth. We also have posters for you, utilizing kind of the graphics and kind of the X's and O's, if you will, like the game plan. It's all about setting your game plan if you choose to bet. So we all know X's and O's, say when coach is on the whiteboard making a plan with his teammates. Billboards, which, as I mentioned, we focus on the URL. We try to make it very simple. As you know, with billboards, there's only so much people can read. Pause before you play. This is about gambling. URL, easy with repetition and driving people to the helpline if needed. Very bold, very legible, very clear, and also very eye-catching. We also have a suite of social media posts. Placing a bet on sports only takes a few seconds online, but too much fast betting can lead to greater risks. Apps that make sports betting betting easy are coming on the market every day. When it's easy to place a bet, you might be tempted to bet too often, which can lead to greater risks. Sports betting happens faster now than ever before, especially online and in phone apps. With the start of legal sports betting in Ohio on January 1st, 2023, it's important to keep your sports betting responsibly by pressing pause before you play. So we're trying to prep and condition Ohio to get ready for this and know where to get their resources. But as we get into 2023, we're going to be continuing to evolve these as, say, new research, new studies, new messaging comes out, as well as shifting with the sports season. We also have different digital display ads. Here's a set of 6 that you can choose from. If you've ever placed, say, best, and these are great to put on, say, your e-newsletters. It's great to put on your website, your partner's website, or if placing a digital display ad. And then we have a whole types of variety of sports, different colors, but all fitting within the same family and consistency of this branded campaign. Then the informational flyers. Through our research and through our focus groups and talking to experts and thought leaders, we want to find out what was information we needed to get out to individuals. So an obvious FAQ flyer was something that we wanted, that because really this has a lot of questions about it. And there's been a lot of questions about sports betting. Is it legal? Was it's legalized? Can I do so in Ohio? What forms? We provide information on that. So just general sports betting, FAQ flyer on Ohio sports legislation, informational handout. One of the points that we had on is how to keep sports betting fun flyer. So yeah, sports betting is legalized, has been approved in our state, but how can you do so while staying responsibly? Dangers and risks. Why is sports betting different than other forms of gambling? Consumer protection and sports betting ban. So how to utilize your devices to set limits. Then legal versus illegal sports betting flyers as well. And how to limit capabilities for your devices flyer. We also have a simple rack card that's just more branded to this campaign as you start to go out to talk more about sports betting. And just to let you know where this is all located, is you might have gotten e-blast today. You probably saw our social media posts. If you don't, please follow Get Set Before You Bet on Twitter, Facebook, Vimeo, Instagram. We post all the time about new resources available to you. And as you can see, well, while that loads. If I go to the community toolkit, I already have it up. You see us right here. All of those items I just mentioned, you have the art files and the PDF. Some of you have graphic designers that can easily co-brand for you. As mentioned, giving us a call and having us do it is free of charge. That's what we do. So if there's any assets that you want to use, print ads, the posters, billboards, it's up to you mostly to say make the placements. We can provide some guidance, and Beth can provide guidance on what to look for when making your media placements. But then she'll coordinate with our creative team on getting you, say, any of the ads that you might need, and even radio spots. In sports betting video, we have a 30-second and 15-second, because some buys requires both. But see, as you see, we launched this today. So you can learn about published 2 hours ago. So just a heads up. So I'm running out of time. I want to make sure that there's time for Q&A, but these are, we have been running the helpline campaign, but you're going to be seeing more of the sports betting campaign through our paid search strategies. Why do you do so the record's sake? No problem. Oh, let me see. So it says, why do some of the rack cards say gambling problem? That's essentially whenever we show the phone number, we are required to put gambling problem next to that. So that's where you see a lot of those different messaging. So that's some guidelines from the state. So in terms of where we'll be placing paid search campaigns, paid social, online pre-roll advertising, display advertising, device ID advertising. We're on TV right now. Here are some of the networks such as ESPN, ESPN2, MLB, TNT, NFL Network. We're also on radio advertising. That has 69 affiliate radio stations with 69 frequencies throughout Ohio. We're placing ads Monday through Friday on prime day parts, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. in major markets, medium markets, even smaller rural markets.
Betting.
And the radio ad is available to you. There's a 30 and 15-second.
Betting happens as fast as sports. And now every play is faster than ever before. You're on the edge of your seat until the moment when it's all on the line, which is why it's important to pause before you play. Sports are fast. Betting shouldn't be. So remember to set limits, know the risks, and pause before you play. To learn more, visit pausebeforeyouplay.org.
So that is available to you. We're also on different radio station shows, such as Tonight in High School Football, Ohio Sports Magazine, which is actually a weekly radio show around Ohio sports, covering various sports personalities connected in Ohio on the professional college and high school levels. On the Money, which is highlighting fantasy sports with David Biddle and Scotty Vegas. And then Locked On Podcasts, Network, which is a 180 plus sports podcast spanning across NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL. We're focusing on podcasts, Buckeyes, Blue Jackets, Cincinnati Reds, Cincinnati Bengals, and more with reads as well as paid as well as recorded ads. And we're also featured in stadiums at Ohio State, Cincinnati, Akron, Bowling Green, Kent State, Ohio University, and Toledo, football stadiums, and so forth. So if wanting any of these, and you'll be provided this, it's just Beth@origobranding.com. We can provide any of these to help you co-brand or get any of these tactics, as well as the phone number. And then Scott Anderson, we are still working to say print some of these, but we have a lot of printed materials that we can send your way. But being that we just launched, some of these items may still be in production. So I see a question, curious why these don't promote 1-800-GAMBLER as the phone number. That is still, sorry, I'm seeing different questions. I'm reading multiple questions at once. 1-800-GAMBLER is still being rolled out by National. We are still utilizing until notified to use a different number than what is, say, equipped for Ohio, for our warm transfer clinicians that are trained and operate in Ohio with this gambling helpline number. But still, say when we promote 1-800-GAMBLER, something that we learned is that wherever you call, you will be triaged to that helpline number still. So once we are directed to utilize the 1-800-GAMBLER number, we will do so. But until then, we're using the Ohio problem gambling number. Someone mentioned, instead of saying gambling problem, can you say something different like betting or gaming or sports betting problem? As I mentioned, this happens a few floors above us. When say creating this number, as you see at any billboards around town or lottery tickets, they all utilize the same messaging. We can't deviate from it. It's just gambling problem ? With the phone number. So it's kind of within our requirements. And then it would Ohio Moss approve. I'm not sure if that's Ohio Moss or not, but that's probably something that is a deeper discussion with who makes those decisions and so forth. As mentioned, they haven't gone on a case by case basis. It's just always been gambling problem ? With that phone number. So Q&A sessions, really, from the team, you can put in the chat box, what are your concerns about the new forms of sports betting entering your state? What do we think are strengths about the current campaign tactics and messaging presented? We'll go into what we feel we can improve in a second, but we would like to hear from you about what do we think is strong about this, or because we have 10 minutes, what do you think we could improve? We are interested in your feedback as well as insights for how we can information tactics or tactics or messaging that we can add to this campaign as we continue to build upon it. Not sure if we did such a thorough job that if there's any questions, just in the chat box, please. And Kelly Garza says, these are such excellent, appropriate, and timely resource. We at ZEP have used a lot of these very successfully, and we love ZEP Center, as mentioned, when they are great partners on this campaign. You can use the messages without co-branding. So Catherine Lanham, you asked this, that's why we provide the PDF. If you don't want to go through the process of putting your logo and so forth, these are all downloadable. But sometimes you might need them sized. We make a lot of the flyers 8.5 by 11, so you can just print them out on your own, or just print them out, but you don't need to co-brand them. We just like to provide that because some people like that localized feel to it. But our hope is that Ohio takes a unified effort to build recognition and equity in the market on what's the main source for responsible gambling. Megan, I love this tactic. So maybe in the future, doing a helpline ad specific for sports betting. just to show you all about kind of what our helpline campaign was about, which we plan on building on in the future. I'll show you Steve Capella's spot. Which actually,
My name's Steve Capella, and I'm a recovering gambler. I always thought I could quit if I wanted to, until the day came when I wanted to and I couldn't quit gambling. When gambling starts to affect all the other areas of your life, that's when gambling becomes a problem. Gambling recovery has helped me to put my life back together, to refocus myself. I think I've been able to reach my full potential and to make up for some of the things that I did. I want you to know that help is out there and you're going to have to reach out for it. But it is there, it is trained, it knows what you're going through, and as gambling gets smaller, life gets bigger. Reach out, pick up that phone, and call the Problem Gambling Helpline of Ohio. They know who to connect you to and what you're going through.
so I just want to show that example because our goal would be to create something of that, of someone who is in recovery of sports gambling or has stories of this. Victoria Little says, I appreciate the behind the scenes work that was done. And Corey Brown mentioned the research that went into the campaign. Danny Crook, I think that this is a fantastic suggestion, engaging the online gaming providers in future iterations. I very much agree. This was the tip of the iceberg, as mentioned, on building this foundation, but there's many PSAs, many tools, and many subsections of this field and this industry and the subject matter that we still need to touch on. So right now we're casting a very big net, and we will be getting more granular as we get further into this campaign. Kristen Warren said, I'm concerned about the availability of trained clinicians to assist those who identify as having a problem. Are you offering training to community social workers, counselors to treat? That's not,
I'll jump in, Alessandro, because I think that's kind of more our realm. PG&O is offers a lot of trainings for clinicians to be able to get the GAM endorsement through the Chemical Dependency Professionals Board and through the Social Work Board to get your scope of competency. So if that's something that you are interested or have coworkers interested in that, feel free to contact us. I'll throw in our website and our email, but that's kind of more our domain. So I just wanted to jump in there.
Thank you. And Craig Bestrom wrote, is there a similar spot with someone in their 20s? If there is, yes. We had a fantastic spot that we showed to the Ohio Casino Control Commission that's running. And it was actually with a veteran. And I didn't have it on cue for you, so I apologize, but I can find it here in just a moment. But I don't want to spend time. But yes, there is someone with a similar spot of a male that was a veteran, who him and his father got on the right track, and they actually trekked from their across state via foot, to call back to their training for treatment. Jose Flores says his concern is that youth have access to a credit card and a cell phone, especially when sports betting is socially accepted in the forms of March Madness brackets, esports, and fantasy sports. We agree, Jose. We have a online gaming, and that's actually a big part of our online gaming messaging. Where how are they doing this if they don't have money? Well, they know that their parents' credit cards are in those devices, so there's got to be some cross-pollination of these two campaign messages that we plan on doing in the future. So I think that this is a great point where, right now we're just talking about sports betting is coming. This is how you can be responsible, but it's going to get down into those more granular topics of digitally, online, with devices in your hands. How can how can we combine our messages with sports betting with youth, virtual gaming? It's almost like a big Venn diagram, right? That's all coming together. So I think this is a point that's on our mind. It's just something that is probably sooner than later something that we're going to be tackling. Larry says, think that this is great that we can use this information to inform our local communities. Shelley liked Steve's line about life getting larger was very impactful. Nicole, love this, great spot. Steve is the best. We very much agree. And Steve and Megan are really the ones that are at the forefront of helping us with coordinating all the individuals in recovery. This was not about our helpline campaign, but we went through a similar process, focus groups, interviews with people in recovery, form transfer clinicians, the operators of the helpline to understand what that looks like, and so forth. So I think it's 1:58. What I am very excited about is that you all seem very excited and you have very good input. And I think that we're tracking very well. And I would very much encourage you, my name is a little bit different than Beth's. This is my email, but contact Beth, CC me. Caitlin Phillips is someone you might have spoken with. She's on PTO right now, who also is the senior account leader on this, all these campaign efforts. But feedback from say Jose and say others on say focusing on different about say combining tools on virtual gaming and devices. The individual that mentioned bringing in the actual betting companies like FanDuel and DraftKings would be important. So, thank you for all that. And please keep it coming. We're looking forward to your evaluation and also you being a part of this. So you probably got an email today. Reach out if you want any of these materials, or if you just want a consult with Beth on what can I use and how can I use it. So we're here to help.